You can start, Mataji.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskutya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakasipu. Text 29. Sri Narada Muni continued. When Hiranyakasipu received this reply from the teacher, he again addressed his son Prahlada. Hiranyakasipu said, "You rascal, most fallen of our family, if you have not received this education from your teachers, where have you gotten it?" Text 30. Prahlad Maharaj replied, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused either by the instruction of others, by their own effort, or by a combination of both. Text 31. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external senses objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind man guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch. Materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. Text 32. Unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, completely freedom from material contamination. Persons very much inclined toward materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, in this way can one be freed from material contamination. Text 33. After Prahlad Maharaj had spoken in this way and become silent, Hiranyakasipu, blinded by anger, threw him off his lap and onto the ground. Text 34. Indignant and angry, his reddish eyes like molten copper, Hiranyakasipu said to his servants, "Oh demons, take this boy away from me. He deserves to be killed. Kill him as soon as possible." Text 35. This boy Prahlada is the killer of my brother, for he has given up his family to engage in the devotional service of the enemy, Lord Vishnu, like a menial servant. Text 36. Although Prahlada is the only 5 years old, even at this young age, he has given up his affectionate relationship with his father and mother. Therefore, he is certainly untrustworthy. Indeed, it is not at all believable that he will behave well toward Vishnu. Text 37. Although a medicinal herb being born in the forest does not belong to the same category as a man. If beneficial, it is kept very carefully. Similarly, if someone outside one's family is favorable, he should be given protection like a son. On the other hand, if a limb of one's body is poisoned by disease, it must be amputated so that the rest of the body may live happily. Similarly, even one's own son, if unfavorable, must be rejected, although born of one's own baby. Text 38. Just a uncontrolled senses are the enemies of all yogis engaged in advancing in spiritual life. This Prahlada, who appears to be a friend, is an enemy because I can't control him. Therefore, this enemy, whether eating, sitting, or sleeping, must be killed by all means. I can stop here, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for giving me chance. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, when are you ready? You can start, Prabhuji.
Sure. Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotee. Thank you, Radha Puri Mataji, for reading today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, text 29 to 38. Start by offering my prayers. Om Kyantimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashat Deshatarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachalam panghum langayate kirim yat kripatam vande Shri Gurudev Taranam. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, we are reading from chapter 5 of Canto 7. And in this particular chapter, we have seen in the past couple of discussions how Hiranyakashipu has sent Prahlad Maharaj, has put them under the guidance of Shandanamanda to learn about the demoniac way of material education. But how Prahlad Maharaj always remembers the instructions he had received from his original guru, Sri Narad Muni, and tries to follow those instructions. So whenever Hiranyakashipu is trying to inquire about what he has learned, he remembers those instructions and relates to them. So in this particular discussion continues. When he just responded to a question from Hiranyakashipu, we'll see what Prahlad Maharaj has to say. So Narad Muni says in this particular verse, when Hiranyakashipu received this reply from the teacher, he again addressed his son Prahlad. He said, you rascal most fallen of our family, if you have not received this education from your teachers, where have you gotten it? Um, so Srila Prabhupada explains in this particular purport this word Bhadra Sati Matihi. Bhadra Sati means something that's unauspicious. So Hiranyakashipu is calling this knowledge, this wisdom that he has received, Prahlad Maharaj has received from Narad Muni as something as inauspicious and not beneficial for Prahlad Maharaj in his material life. So Srila Prabhupada explains in another place that Krishna consciousness and devotional service is always pure. There can be nothing inauspicious about it in any situation. Just for example, as the sun, when the sun's rays falls on anything. Suppose sometimes we have things that are getting spoiled and we put it outside in the sun. The sun, by its rays and by its energy, automatically sterilizes and purifies everything. So Prabhupada often quotes this Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Hoy Andakar, Jaha Krishna, Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar. So wherever there is Godhead, there is no nescience. So anything that's always related to Krishna or topics related to devotional service are always auspicious. Shri Prahlad Maharaj, he repeats this. He now responds to Hiranyakashipu's question of where he has acquired this knowledge, and he actually goes on to some of the themes that he'll be covered today. He's going to discuss what are the consequences of sense gratification, and why do some people are not able to become Krishna conscious, and how they can change that. And he talks something about who a real guru or teacher should be. This particular shloka is very important. Srila Prabhupada quotes it in many times. So let's look at it. So Sri Prahlad Vacha, Matir na Krishne Paratah Svatova. So Matir na Krishne. Mati means the inclination. Inclination towards Krishna, na, it does not develop. Parata, by one's own effort. Svatova, by hearing from other people. Mitho, or the combination of both things. Bhipatyate griha vratanam. Who does it not develop this inclination towards Krishna consciousness? For those people who are very much materially attached. Griha vratanam. Adanta gobhir vishatam tamishram. Go means senses. So for one who are fully attached or engrossed in sense gratification, and their destination is towards the tamasic planets, tamishram, the hellish planets, for those people, it is very difficult to achieve Krishna consciousness. And what they do as a result of these sense gratification and this attachment, punah punas charvita charvananam, they take repeated births and deaths. In this different births and deaths, they go on to perform the same things. Again, chewing something, spitting it out, in another birth, chewing it again. So in this particular fashion, they keep on repeating the same mistake again and again, and that is due to the power of the sense attachment. Srila Prabhupada goes on to describe in this particular purport that a lot of times we see different speculators who give interpretation on the scriptures. When they give interpretation on the scriptures, because they are not self-realized souls, their senses are not well controlled. A lot of the purpose of their translations or purports that they provide is based on how one can be materially successful in life. They completely reject the concept of Krishna being the supreme personality of Godhead because they cannot accept or tolerate somebody else being the enjoyer. So that is why to understand, to achieve Krishna consciousness by hearing from these kind of speakers is going to be impossible. That is why Prahlad Maharaj says, Mati na Krishne paratah svatova. You cannot hear from somebody who is not in bhakti, not in Krishna consciousness. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. I can only and only be understood through devotional service. That is why when we read the scriptures, one of the terms that is used to describe our scriptures is called, they are revealed scriptures. Just by reading it, just by using our material understanding and our self-intelligence, will we be able to achieve the knowledge, the message that is being translated in the scriptures? It's not true. It is revealed because it can only be understood when we have the mercy, the kripa from a Vaishnava or from the Supreme Lord themselves. That is why what is really needed, what is the real qualification to understand and to deliver this knowledge of the scriptures is mercy. And mercy is not something that we achieve on our own. Mercy is something that is awarded to us. It is a gift that is given to us. And this gift, this mercy, it comes through great Vaishnava acharyas. Like for our own understanding, it comes through our Srila Prabhupada, who had this mercy of Krishna, and he's distributing this mercy widely in his wonderful purports that he has written, so that when we read, we can also taste a little bit of what devotional service looks like. These particular commentators, their only business is to chew the chewed. Like I previously stated, their main business is how you can get more and more advancement in material life, more prosperity in material life. Some people use scriptures as a management book, taking out management principles of it. Completely negating the purpose behind the scriptures is to achieve something that's eternal and not something that belongs to this material realm. So that's the brief purport to this one. Text 31. goes on to describe the 4 qualities of materialists. Prahlad Maharaj says that persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. So, in this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada describes in this particular shloka that there are 4 qualities of the materialistic people. Na te vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. So those people who do not understand that their gati, their direction, is to achieve or understand the supreme personality of Godhead, the supreme eternal truth. So one of the qualities we see of materialists that they are ignorant. The second quality that's described for the material people are that they are very ambitious. Durashaya ye bahir arthamaninaha. They are constantly endeavoring and having this sort of mental regurgitation about how to achieve bahir arthamanina. They want more and more objects of sense gratification. So first quality we saw was they were ignorant. They are ambitious. Second. Third is that they are misled. Andha yathandir upaniyamanas. The blind is being led by another blind leader. So these material people who are trying to understand the Shastras, who are trying to give their own interpretations, they are ignorant, they're ambitious, but they are also blind because they have read this or acquired this knowledge from somebody who has no idea of a higher spiritual realization. And the fourth thing that happens to these materialist people as a result of these 3 things is they become entangled. Te pishatantrayam urudamni baddhaha. They become bound in this false narrative that is being created and they miss the basic point. Srila Prabhupada often used to say Krishna consciousness is so simple that you will just miss it. Because people, they go into this sort of expounded philosophy, something that's very complicated. But Srila Prabhupada has always taught us that the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement is to understand who Krishna is and to see and to understand how we can express our love towards him. And that is all. But instead of that, these different commentators, they themselves are guided by people who are blinded, and they, as a result, get entangled or bewildered. Instead, in the purport, Prabhupada also mentions that Prahlad Maharaj, he decries the false gurus or the gurus who are acquired the position just by their birth. The sons of Shukracharya, who Hiranyakashipu was directing Shri Prahlad Maharaj towards. Prahlad Maharaj, he denies the authorities of those gurus because those gurus, they are not self-realized and they are only guru because of being in a family lineage of Shukracharya. Instead, Prabhupada writes in the purport that one should only hear from a pure devotee. And the example in the Shastras is often given of a Chataka bird. So a Chataka bird is a bird that it's a special quality that it only drinks the drop of rainwater that is falling from the sky. That's the pure nectar that it's always searching for. Even if it is thirsty and there's puddle of water lying in the ground, the Chataka bird will not go and drink that water. It will only wait for that pure rainwater that is in the process of falling from the sky, from the clouds. What we understand from that is a devotee, a sincere, inquisitive devotee. He only hears the pure nectar that is coming from the mouths of a pure Vaishnava, a self-realized soul. He is not interested in hearing or reading scriptures that are mixed with other different philosophy. Just like the rainwater, when it falls on the ground, mixes with mud and forms a puddle, a real inquisitive devotee is not interested in pursuing knowledge from that particular source. One time, one devotee questioned Srila Prabhupada in India once that Srila Prabhupada, it is said in Bhagavad Gita, Pandita Samadarshina. So why you don't listen to other speakers and why you criticize other speakers like that? So Prabhupada explained to that devotee that Pandita Samadarshana does not mean that we not differentiate people from hearing while hearing. When we are hearing, when we are doing Shravanam, it is very, very important for us to understand what the source is of that particular speaker, where he's deriving his knowledge from. Is he following is he following in the Guru Parampara? Is he following in the Shastra? So that place we cannot apply the same philosophy of Pandita Samadarshana. But when we are doing kirtanam, when we are preaching, at that point, we can indiscriminately preach this message that Sri Chaitanya Prabhu has given us to each and every person, irrespective of their creed, caste, background, nationality. So we apply Pandita Samadarshana in that setting when we are preaching to people, but not when we are hearing from them. So Srila Prabhupada also describes that the actual guru is called Strotriya. So Strotriya means one who refers to the Shastras for his knowledge. Moving on to text 32. This is also a wonderful text, and Srila Prabhupada has written an elaborate purport to it, quoting many different shlokas. Just for interest of time, I won't be able to refer to all of them, but I would recommend if devotees have time to read the purport to text 32 today. So in this particular way, now Prahlad Maharaj is trying to explain to Hiranyakashipu why he and his false gurus are not able to understand the meaning of the Shastras, and why he rejects their knowledge, and he's offering them a solution. How, if Hiranyakashipu really wants to understand where his understanding, Prahlad Maharaj understanding is coming from, what would be the way to understand that he's addressing in here. So unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnav, completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. So, Srila Prabhupada describes in the purport that Krishna consciousness brings about disappearance of anarthas. In the purport, Prabhupada also talks about education. So he quotes Bhakti Vinod Thakur and says, Bhakti Vinod Thakur said that education that keeps the soul bound in the material world is called material education. So you can see that there are some stark differences between material education and spiritual knowledge. So material education, some of the qualities are that it is based on a very false narrative. And the reason it's based on a false narrative because it's acquired by our imperfect senses. So when we acquire something by our imperfect senses, because we don't understand the complete truth, we keep changing the versions, we keep changing the additions of the source of knowledge. So there's addition 1.1, then there's addition 3.2. We keep changing because our knowledge was not perfect to begin with. And the problem is when this false knowledge is acquired and is advertised and is repeated several times, these lies become a truth when it is said several times. His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj had very nicely described that if you repeat a lie several times, it becomes a truth. And if that same false truth is accepted by a great section of society, it becomes a culture. And when that culture, which is based on a false truth, is passed on through books, through education to a new generation, that becomes a tradition. But ultimately, we realize that tradition is based on a false culture, which is based on a false truth, which is actually a lie. So if you see many different scientific theories that are propounded, the Big Bang theory, the theory of evolution, they do not have any conclusive scientific basis for them. But still, it is being taught widely in the material world. The other thing that the material education tends to do is that it feeds our false ego. So we'll see that oftentimes through in different parts of our career, we are asked to advertise ourselves and list all our achievements, list top 10 achievements that we have done. Here we are trying to we are being encouraged to glorify ourselves, whereas we hear from Sri Narottam Das Thakur, Musama Patita Prabhu, Na Paibe Ara. Now we are taught from our Vaishnava Acharyas to think that we are the most fallen of the most fallen. Our position is Gopir Bhartur Padakamlor Das Das Anudas. That is spiritual knowledge, that is spiritual understanding. But material education, what we learn in schools and colleges, is how you self-aggrandize yourself and make yourself look much and much more important in society. And this takes you away from your real ego, which is to be a servant of Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada then answers a very wonderful question in this purport in text 32. And sometimes there's something sometimes we wonder about, and I wonder about, and sometimes I get frustrated, is why do people who are so educated and so learned do not take to Krishna consciousness? Because sometimes when once we practice this for a while, it comes very naturally, and we realize that we sometimes find it frustrating why other people are not able to understand and appreciate the supreme truth. But Prabhupada says that the reason for that these people are not able to realize that because they have not surrendered to a self-realized soul. And that is what Prahlad Maharaj is saying. Unless those people accept the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, it is very, very difficult for them to understand this higher knowledge or the higher truth. In Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Tadvadi pranipatena prashnena sevaya, that we have to approach a self-realized soul with humility and folded hands and inquire from him and serve him very humbly in a humble state of mind. And only then will we be able to achieve that knowledge which is beyond our material senses. So these educated people, they fall under the traps of the aspects of material education that I just described, which is temporary, which is based on false. It feeds our false ego, making us think we're important. And these are the traps that they fall in, even though they are materially so educated and may have so many qualifications and degrees. But instead, if for some reason they are able to take shelter of a Vaishnava, they're able to receive the mercy from a Vaishnava, only then will it be possible for them to understand these spiritual topics. Um, so Prahlad Maharaj goes on to describe is, once Prahlad Maharaj had spoken this way, Hiranyakashipu became blinded by anger and threw him off his lap. So it's we can see here, the practical demonstration of the shloka from chapter 2 in Bhagavad Gita. Dhyayato Vishaya Pumsaha Sangasatesu Pajayate. So Hiranyakashipu, he was always, wanting to put himself as the most prominent personality and not Lord Vishnu. And he expected that his son and the son's teachers would also be able to establish that he is the greatest personality in this world. Whereas Sri Prahlad Maharaj has just quashed this idea of Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu, by thinking about himself being great, dhyayato vishayapum saha sangaste supajayate, sangata sanjayate kamaha. So because of thinking himself as great, he developed this desire, this lust for getting respect and getting appreciation from his own son, Prahlad Maharaj. But when he did not get this respect, when he did not get this appreciation from Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj instead appreciated Lord Vishnu as he was taught by Narad Muni, Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha, Kamaha Krodho Bhijayate. So because this lust was unfulfilled for Hiranyakashipu, immediately he went into a rage, he became angry. And then he asked his servants to kill this son. So when we see the second part of the shloka from chapter 2 in Bhagavad Gita, Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha, Kama Krodho Vijayate, Krodad Bhavati Samoha, Samoha Smriti Vibhramaha. So when you become angry, you lose your memory, you lose your sense of righteousness. So just a few minutes ago, we saw how Hiranyakashipu had kept Prahlad Maharaj on his lap and was lovingly and very affectionately, inquiring of him. Now he is throwing him off the lap and asking his servants to kill him. Samohat Smriti Vibramaha, Smriti Vibrama Buddhi Nasho, Buddhi Nashat Pranashati. And because of this anger, this attachment to his own glorification, Hiranyakashipu, a father, is now asking for his own son to be killed. He does not understand what he's asking for, what he's doing. So although Prahlad Maharaj was only 5 years old, so Hiranyakashipu is now giving reasoning to his servants why they should kill him. Because he has given up his relationship to his father and mother, so he's untrustworthy. And then goes on to describe that. So Hiranyakashipu is actually describing that a person who even is qualified, but maybe from an unqualified clan, unqualified region, like from a forest, in this particular example, like a medicinal herb, that should be taken care of and nurtured. And similarly, even if somebody is from your own family but is not in good behavior, that person should be discarded. Srila Prabhupada writes that this is very good advice, but you have to understand the right perspective. And Hiranyakashipu has taken a completely different perspective of it. But just from our own spiritual understanding, what devotees can understand, that if somebody is unfavorable to us or unfavorable towards our bhakti, even though they may be in our immediate association, we must try to maintain the distance and not actively pursue the association. Because even though they may be acting as our well-wisher externally, they are not helping us achieve advance in bhakti. And then Hiranyakashipu describes that just as uncontrolled senses are the enemies of all yogis, I cannot control Prahlad Maharaj, and that is why he is my enemy. Therefore, this enemy, whether eating, sleeping, sitting, or sleeping, must be killed by all means. So this again good advice, but not in the right perspective from Hiranyakashipu. So with this, I'll end today. So again, we just covered some of the policies of material education when we heard from Prahlad Maharaj, and why people are not able to understand this knowledge of Krishna consciousness and what they can do to advance in this particular path. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.